Yeah, everyone sees that with my, man, that picture was how many years ago? 3 years ago and about 20 pounds ago. So it's just the only one that we've got. So hopefully I can get an updated headshot. But guys, welcome to our part 2 of our webinar talking about alignment to the California School Dashboard. And last time, let me see here, we talked about the standard dashboards in the Parsec analytics platform. So the ones that are built on publicly available research file data. What's there that's a little bit easier to access than with the California School Dashboard? What's there that isn't available on the California School Dashboard? Some calculations we run on our side, and then some of our philosophy around the data and the shortcomings of that data. And then we spent some time asking what metrics you guys would be interested in seeing pulled in to from public research file data and what things you'd like to be able to see. So that's where we left off. This round, we are going to be in the ELA and math sections of the Parsec sort of premium dashboards, which are where we keep the student level data. And we're going to talk about what the foundation for those are, where that aligns to the California School Dashboards, some places that will miss so that that's very clear, and some improvement things that we have in the works. All right. I got to go backwards to go forward real quick. So let me go backwards. We revisited our key ideas from last time. We're going to talk about how we visualize student group performance and how it aligns with the California School Dashboard. And then we're going to talk about some practical use cases for things like percent towards standard, which we'll be talking about today, which may be new to some of you guys. So a little add-on at the end, as well as some things that I would recommend you doing in the dashboard for accuracy's sake. But before we get started, I just want to get some like general feedback from you guys or thoughts from you guys. But what do you find the most difficult in aligning your data to the California School Dashboard? And you have two options here. You can let us know in the chat, which is awesome. And you can also just come off mute and let us know verbally. Both are acceptable in this case.
Ryan, I won't be shy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. I'm in the car because it's spring break. So one of the things, we have a low stability rate at our school. And so I wouldn't say we have trouble, but we have to be very intentional about making sure that we know exactly who's going to end up on the dashboard. So that is only students who are present or enrolled on CBED's day, and then also end up taking the test. Because we lose about 10 to 15% of our kids throughout the year, if they start after CBED's day, or if they are removed before the testing window opens, then they are not part of the dashboard. So really being intentional about making sure that that data is correct. It can really swing your data one direction or another if you're a small school like us.
Yeah, especially when you get into that student group data. That's
correct. Yeah,
you're...
we ended up being a low performing school by 3 distance from standard points in our Latinx student population. Like, we missed it by 3 distance from standard points.
Goodness. And when you're tracking participation rate too, those three students can change everything dramatically. That's good. Any other ideas, guys? What you find difficult in aligning your data with the California School Dashboard, or trying to think ahead to what that's going to look like? There's lots of fancy rules.
I would agree, just matching our data to California Dashboard, because even as we try to project where we might be, it's really difficult because I know that there are lots of different exclusions that are considered when the dashboard presents our data.
Yeah. Yeah, I was deep in the weeds on the technical guide this week again, and the mini technical guides as well, the per indicator ones. And there were even some things that I saw and there was like, I don't think I was aware of that. It seems like there's always a new rule that's like, oh, that will affect the way the data shows up. Oh, that will affect the way the data shows up. And one of the ones that we won't be covering this today because we'll be in the ELA and math portions, the state test portions of things, but just that with CCI and graduation, for some reason, it wasn't in my mind that if they were on an ODS report, not a CBEDS day report, ODS report at any time in a student group, that's the student group that they'll be counted for within the last 4 or 5 years. That's the student, they will be counted as that student group in the graduation cohort or the CCI. And it's like, I was not paying attention to that at all. And so our graduation dashboard is not built to be 100% aligned with the California school dashboard, but we will be making adjustments to get closer to it in the near future because of those kind of rules. It's still got its uses, but we want to be closer to give you the ability to align and then expand, align and expand. All right, guys, if you have any more, you can put them in the chat. And any questions that we don't get to here, we can make sure we follow up with an email after we're done. So I'm going to talk about foundations for dashboard alignment, and we're specifically talking about ELA and math. And the foundation, as Christine mentioned, is you start with the CBEDS demographics, the census day demographic data. That, obviously isn't SELPA approved until late December. And I forgot the exact date on that, that final approval. But until that SELP was approved, an ODS or an LEA approved from CBEDS Day does suffice. So that first Wednesday in October is a satisfactory place to start because it's the closest you're going to get. So this is foundational, and there's a few reasons why. CBEDS data is the backbone of the California School Dashboard academic indicators being ELA and math and even LP. The census day snapshot is the foundation for that. Another reason it's really beneficial is CBEDS day is generally cleaner than what's in your SIS. Because it goes through that rigorous process of the approval with the SELPA, it goes through a greater level of scrutiny. SISs, as we've worked with them, various ones from ARIES to Power School to School Pathways, they can be messy and no two people use them the same way. And we've even seen, by using the census day, we've been able to catch errors in people's reporting. We had one school where we looked at their percentage socioeconomically disadvantaged over time, and they were like 80, 65, 85, 3 years running. And they weren't even aware that they'd misreported one year and how much money did that shift away from their school system because they had misreported. And so census day, because it's clean, because it's the way the state operates, it's a great place to start. And it also enables you to, because it's the backboard of the accountability model, it enables viewing data through an accountability lens long before that end of year 3 reporting happens and the California School Dashboard then after that gets released. Here's what'll get updated in end of year 3 reporting, because I have some definitions on the next page. But student groups can shift during the year, but we'll look at it this way. If they were with you on census day and they weren't socioeconomically disadvantaged for some reason at that point, but they get reclassified as socioeconomically disadvantaged during the school year, that shows up in end of year 3 reporting, and that will end up on the California School Dashboard in the student group indicators. So if they were with you on census day and took the test and their student group changed during the year, that student group will be reflected on the California School Dashboard. But that doesn't come out till end of year 3, which happens, that day is not reported till end of year 3, which is July 25th due date and like an middle of August certification date. And that's too late to be doing alignment work. Like it's already set in stone. So the thing that you want to do is you want to just have that census day snapshot data present and have it be very clean, and then keep that as your lens throughout the year for your iReadies, your Renaissance, your NWEAs, for your suspension rates, for your attendance rates, all of those things. It's going to help you in that alignment, and it's going to give you close. Because of that end of year 3 reporting, which comes later, it will shift a little bit depending on the operations within your school system. SWD classification, students with disabilities, English language reclassification, those things will show up on end of year 3. But we want to make sure that we at least have a strong foundation aiming in the right direction from the beginning. And when Parsec builds its dashboards, we use the census day snapshot data for demographics. We have some workarounds while we're waiting for census day snapshot data, but we're always in CalPads. And we join that data on SSID to student performance. And it does 2 things. It fulfills the continuously enrolled accountability rule, which is what you'll read on the California School Dashboard technical guide. It's this student was continuously enrolled for the full year, and this was their student group, at least at that point, at the beginning of the year. So SED, SWD, English learner, homeless, foster youth, etc. What it also does is it naturally adjusts for students who unenroll between assessment cycles. And so what that means is if I have a census day student demographic or student group of socioeconomically disadvantaged, and I unite that with state test scores at the end of the year, what that's going to do is I'm only going to have SED is only going to be a group for students who also had a test score. So those students who left who were SED on census day are naturally filtered out of that data. And so, Christine, to your point, that non-stability rate is actually mitigated to some extent by having it attached to census day data at the beginning of the year. It controls for that 1 full year of instruction or continuously enrolled. And apparently I animated that title last. It was supposed to come up first, but I'm not a designer. Here's some of the rules for the student groups when it comes to the academic indicators that I just wanted to have as a resource for you guys. We won't read through all of them, but there's some things here. So English learners on the California School Dashboard were English learners at any time during the school year, including students reclassified within the last 4 years. And all of these, because of the way the accountability model works, have the foundation of and were continuously enrolled, meaning enrolled from census day to taking the test. That's the foundation there. And that's what we do with our dashboards. We start with census day enrollment. Long-term English learners, I wanted to highlight this one for you guys. There's 2 definitions of long-term English learner in the state of California. I don't know why. There are some places that you look where it is 6+ years is a long-term English learner. In the technical guide for the California School Dashboard, it is 7+ years. And so you all know we're actively deciding which one of those rules we're going to go with for identifying long-term English learners within our dashboards moving forward, because we need to single them out as an identifiable student group for accountability purposes, the way the state's shifting its focus. But we are leaning towards 7+ years because it is the accountability model number on the academic indicators. If you have a point of view on that, feel free to put it in the chat or to send us an email. We'd be more than happy to consider your POV because you guys are on the ground level doing the work. So SED, anytime during the school year. So if they were with you on census day, they weren't SED, but they were designated SED later in the year, they will be counted as SED on the California School Dashboard as reported in end of year 3 reporting into CalPads. The SWD, something I wanted to point out here, I'm not 100% sure yet. I was looking into this, how this plays out. And if one of you have a insight into this, please feel free to share it. But students with disability, it follows the same line of logic and rules as the socioeconomically disadvantaged students, but there's a caveat at the end, or took the CAA. So my hypothesis on that, I'm still researching, looking into it, is that if they're not designated as an SWD student, but they took the CAA, they're a student with disabilities on the California School Dashboard. So if any of you have insight, please put that in. I'm not certain on that, but the CAA is a major factor in calculating academic indicators on the California School Dashboard. And then the last thing to note, because we won't go through all of these, is and we're continuously enrolled. Student group data is on the California School Dashboard, is on the accountability model for students who are with you on census day and tested. Census day and tested. Those are the numbers you want to look at. So the enrollment data, the demographic data in Parsec's dashboards is from census day. Where that falls short, guys, there are shortcomings to the way that we do the enrollment data using census day snapshot. It misses reclassification data that's captured in end of year 3 reporting. So what happens is if you have an English learner that's reclassified as fluent English proficient, we pull in that data from the SERS report, but the census day snapshot won't hold that data because it's paused at that point in time. So it'll miss students who are reclassified during the year, but you will find those students on the ELAS filter on our dashboard, which is pulled directly from the SERS file. It's worth noting, but census day does not pull that. If a student was socioeconomically disadvantaged and that changed during the year and they're no longer and they took the state test, they'll still be SED. So if they weren't SED at the beginning of the year and that changed, we will miss that as well. So if you have these changes frequently in your system, there will be some misses that for reclassifications that happen after census day. We do some things to alleviate that, but we're not perfect using the reports from CalPads because that end of year 3 report doesn't come out till July. So it's not going to do me any good for looking at iReady, NWA, Renaissance during the year, grades, attendance, discipline, all of that. Doesn't do me any good. And SISs are messy. So that might not be the solution either without some really rigorous data quality checks on the side of your guys' internal team. And one of the things that census day data does not do at this time, and we're again actively working on this because there's another report in CalPads that does do this, just so you know, it does not give us their length of time as an English learner or time since reclassification. So if you click on English learners in our dashboard, it's going to include everyone who was ever an English learner in CalPads that's currently enrolled with you, whether they're an EL, whether they're an RFEP, that's going to be there. On the California School Dashboard, what it's looking at is current English learners and 4 years of reclassified students. And so that's an area where our dashboards will have a miss. We're actively working on the calculation to make sure that we can view that, and that'll be released in the 5.0 version of the dashboards when we get that calculation down so that you'll be able to identify very clearly your English learner students as the dashboard sees them. Here's a really important move on our dashboards, guys, because what happens is we pull demographic data from census day. We don't pull demographic data again till next census day. There's a lot that can happen in there. And you're going to have students come in, if you have a low stability rate, students coming in particular, that'll take the test with you. And so our dashboards pulls in, like our state test dashboard, for example, it pulls in all of the state test scores from SERS. But it only attaches demographic data for students who are with you on census day. Where people tend to miss on our dashboards is there's a category in each of the filters that says null, N-U-L-L. And those are the students that were with you on census day, but did not have, sorry, so we're not with you on census day, but took the test with you. So nulls are, we're not there on census day, but did take the test with you. And so it's really important that you eliminate the nulls when you're doing data, if you're looking for census day alignment. So one of the, I made this little GIF here, this GIF. I don't know the right way to say it, but any of the filters that you click on, if you just click on one of them and deselect the nulls, see how it changes the data? This is going to be closer to what's going to show up on the California school dashboard when you're looking at that data. And that enrollment length component will be really important in a second because it's still a major gap in the California school dashboard that I want to talk about. Here is what it looks like when someone removed the late enrollees. And we look at the California school dashboard. They were 17.2 points below standard on the dashboard. They're 18.8 on our side. Now there's a difference here of 219 and 214 on scores. And that is because, and Christine, you actually pointed this out a while ago, and we're just catching up because we're always playing catch up with Christine. That is because on the California school dashboard, your DFS for ELA and math includes student performance on the California alternative assessments. They take the placement, 1, 2, and 3 is a level placement on the alternative assessments, and they give it what's called a top of level score, scale score, correlation to the CASP scale score. It's not the scale score from the assessment. It's a what's the word? Conversion. It's a conversion. And so we have all that data in. So that's another thing that we're actively working on is pulling in those CAA scores, automatically implying the conversion. And so that you have that data when looking at your data as it relates to the California school dashboard. And that's where these 5 scores that we don't have here will come from. And that will account for some of the discrepancy that you see here. So it's a place that we notice there's a gap and we're actively working on alleviating that gap. There is still a major gap in the accountability and growth models. The growth model's out and it's great. I like it. They still have a lot to release information-wise on it, but it's very good. But status and change still does not account for my students who are my non-stability rate. And growth doesn't account for the work that only happens within my school system because it follows the student. And so there's still a really important place, guys, that goes beyond the California school dashboard that is contiguous enrollment. And this is a way to view it. All of our dashboards, if you see up here, have this enrollment length filter and ways to view the data by length of enrollment. That's really, really important because what happens is if I have a student that comes to me in 4th grade, their growth score is going to be used considering their 3rd grade scores. If they come to me in 5th grade, 4th and 3rd grade, and depending on the size of your system, it's 2 or 3 years, there's some caveats to the calculation. What contiguous enrollment does is it highlights the work depending on how long they've been with your school exclusively or your school system exclusively. And so to be able to look at the data and to even be able to say, like if you look here, this unmarked bar, this bar on the bar graph is distance from standards for students who are came in post-census day. This one is for students who were with me for their very first year. And then these ones are for students who are with me 2, 3, 4, and 5 years. And so you can see that there is the beginning of a story of students improving over time. The California school dashboard using census day is a good place to begin alignment early so we can look at that for our iReady grades, or whatever our local assessment is, our grades, our attendance, our discipline, all of those things. But continuous enrollment is an extension of that. How do I now look at how students do over time in a way that the California school dashboard misses? Because we have to be able to tell a story that aligns and then extends, aligns and extends. Here's the California school dashboard. Here's an extension. Here's one other area to consider. I already talked about this. Parsec currently does not utilize California alternative assessment data within the state test dashboard. We are currently working on a plan to rectify this using the top of level CASP scale score conversions. And I actually have those conversions. If any of you would like them, just let us know in the chat and I will send them over to you if you're interested in what those conversions look like. So it's super simple, but it's by grade level, by CAA tier, performance level. So now that we've talked a little bit about where alignment is for Parsec's academic indicator dashboards and where we have work of alignment still to do, we're not perfect. What metrics do you think Parsec should focus on tightening alignment? Where are some areas you're like, man, I really need help here. And if you guys could focus on this alignment, and you're probably going to say CCI, but if that's okay, where would you guys like to see us tightening up our alignment to help you have a better understanding earlier of where you're looking at being on the California school dashboard? And I'm going to lower my hand. Somehow I raised it. I think just on a what I see looking at Parsec, but I'm internal. I think that we focusing on LP would be really useful, as well as that English learner data. I think that should be like a priority focus for us right now. And then obviously making sure that our science test work is aligned, as that becomes a more prominent feature on the California school dashboard. Those are the two things that come to my mind. But are there any that come to your mind? Like, it'd be really helpful if graduation was better aligned. Or
do you guys have CCI on your dashboard, or is that anything you're working towards?
Yeah, working towards it. We have pieces of it built out, Gretchen, for partners with, depending on our level of expertise with their SIS. The one place I will tell you that we haven't spent time and that we need to is on the, what's the word I'm looking for? The A to G completion rate component, calculating that, going, hey, you have these two buckets that this class could go to, but if this bucket's full, go over here. Or if this, doing that and or statement logic. Adam, one of our ed analysts, is confident he can write out that logic so we can code it.
Yeah,
and then
I would think that a lot of, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think a lot of that data should be there, right? A through G goes to CalPads, what if they got met distance from, or if they met proficient. I mean, a lot of that's there, I would think.
Yeah, it's lagging is the thing. So like we can pull in, like in our graduation dashboard, we have who met UC and CSU requirements in there. And so we could build with that. I was thinking more about like kind of real-time tracking of that information.
Yeah, I think the hard part about CCI is that it's really on a look back if you don't have the right data going in, because your kids cannot finish A through G until they finish their second semester of senior year, because they need all 4 years of English, for instance. There's very few students that would maybe have community college where they would meet that early. So if you want something that's predictive, you would definitely have to get more complex with like the coding, etc. You'd have to figure out how to acknowledge community college. It would be very interesting. I mean, offline, I can show you, we have a predictive model essentially that we're doing ourselves with our own data that's built out. So I can show you that separately, but it requires a ton of manual data. It's all manual manipulation of like, well, we think this kid is going to do this, so we're going to put him in this category and blah, blah, blah. So we do predict our CCI, but a lot of it is like, it would require like probably a separate like sandbox, so to speak, to where people could hand manipulate like individual student data to indicate whether a student is on track or not on track.
Yeah, that's my thought as well, Christine, is that it would create basically it wouldn't be just like a visualization or a tracking. You would have to build a whole system around it within an SIS or some other system in which you're able to maneuver the things that you need to maneuver. Now, Gretchen, as far as reporting in hindsight, like from
that's what I mean, you may not be able to use it predictively, but if you want a presentation to give to the board for the last 5 years and improvements, there's some value in that.
Yeah, 100%. And we have that data in the standard dashboards where you can go in and see your CCI over time. So it wouldn't be broken down. You can do it by student group too, and I can show you where that's at in a meeting. But yeah, that's That's one that at least it's in the publicly available dashboards until we figure out if it's even feasible to try to create a system around that when you have so many disparate moving parts for so many different schools. All right, so I'm running out of time. If you give me 3 minutes, I'm actually out of time. Give me 3 minutes. I'm going to talk about percent towards standard really quick because I don't think we talk about it enough. And the California School Dashboard, again, I like it. I like average distance from standard, but it's from a communication perspective, it's difficult. So distance from standard, you guys know what it is. There's a minimum score that's considered grade level proficient, and that's what a student's aiming at. However many points above or below that is their distance from standard. When you're averaging that, you're just taking that across a group of students. You add their distance from standard up in the numerator, you have the number of students in the denominator, and then you get your average distance from standard. It's great. The difficulty is distance from standard is not consistent from grade level to grade level. And so a minus 150 in third grade does not communicate the same relationship to standard or proximity to standard that it does in fourth grade. In third grade, it would be a standard not met. In fourth grade, it would be a standard nearly met. So there's a gap. So we created percent towards proficient, and you guys can look at the calculation later, but what we do is we just take we take the scale score, we convert it to a percentage of the distance between the minimum score they can get and the baseline proficiency. There's two benefits to that. One, it calculates those things that distance from standard misses, like the minus 150 and minus 150 not being the same in proximity to standard or even the same performance band. But it also means that I don't have to guess what the lowest obtainable scale score is. If they got a 0, that's the lowest obtainable scale score, which is really nice. I just know they didn't get it. The other benefit is with the percent towards proficient, or percent towards standard is what we're changing the name to. Sorry, we're still working on nomenclature. You can't get a higher score than 100. And so what that means is that your highest performing students don't shift the focus away from your students who are still working their way towards standard. And we have it built into your dashboards. You'll have an extra dashboard that's not your state test dashboard that holds percent towards proficient. It's so much easier to communicate that my fifth-year students are 73% of the way towards proficiency than it is to say that they're minus 80, 90 points below standard. When you're communicating to the public, percentages are just easier to understand. Context as it relates to proficiency is much better communicated in this way. So this gives us clear communication around proficiency. It gives us a better focus on students not meeting grade level standard. Max percent is 100, so highest performing students do not shift average as much. And then it allows you to engage non-distance from standard familiar educational partners, which is most people. So if you can communicate their relationship to proficiency in a percentage, that's much easier to understand than an upside down bar graph for your 8th grade math. And where it's at in your dashboards, I'm going to show you real quick. Let me go to parsecgo.com. And this is the standard is the publicly available research file data. We have this LCAP dashboard that pulls in all the data for all the LCAPs in the state of California, which is pretty cool. And then we're working on an AI LCAP agent. But here under your graduation rate dashboard, you should find your percent towards standard or percent towards proficient. We're still working on the universal name change. And that will give you the ability to view the data according to proficiency. And we have distance from standard and proficiency in here, so you can use both. So this should be useful in communicating to boards, communicating to parents, because distance from standard is just complicated. Say here, 100% means they met their grade level proficiency, and this grade level is 65% of the way there, right? I can go to my 5th grade students, and I can just go to the year 22-23, and I can say we're 61% of the way there in 22-23, 73% of the way there. And then you can do your trend analysis, distance from standard or by PTP. Quick note, I say this a lot, but we have new people in the chat. One of the things that we noticed back to the contiguous enrollment thing, if you pull your new students, so your mid to late year transfers and your first year students, out of the, like you isolate them in the data, you'll find that they're coming in at lower and lower proficiencies in most places. And so if you remove them from the data, you'll usually find a 20-point spread in distance from standard, where your students who've been with you for more than 1 year are doing better. So just something to be aware of in your data. And this is actually proving true for districts as well as charters, which I'm finding interesting. I'm like, where are these students coming from if they're all coming in at lower proficiencies? But it's just the nature of things.
Ryan,
All
I'm
right.
sorry. I'm still trying to process this. The percent is the percent of students who have met proficient, or did I get that wrong?
No, this is great. That's a great question.
I'm sorry. I'm like trying to catch up in my mind.
Yeah. So let me go back to this here, and let me go back up. Where is it? Where did that page go? It's here. So what we do is for each student, we calculate their distance, their percentage of the way. So if the lowest attainable scale score is 0%, we're calculating how close they are to being at standard in a percentage. So it's not percent met or exceeded, it's how close are they to having the minimum grade level proficient score. And the student is 73% of the way there. They're 73% of the way to proficiency.
Okay. So how does that work? School, I understand that per student. Now, how does that translate to the whole school?
Yeah, so similar to how you would take the average distance from standard, you can average these percentages. And you can say, like, for your 5th grade students, let's go back to the dashboard, percent towards proficient, and let's go to our 3rd grade students here. On average, our students are 79% of the way to proficiency, meaning there's a 20% gap between them and proficiency.
School-wide. But some are there, some are not there, but
yep.
overall.
Yep.
We
Same
still
thing with distance from standard, right? Some are above, some are below. But the distance from standard isn't as easy to communicate as a percentage is. So it's a percentage conversion that just tells you the relationship, defines the contextual relationship between the students and standard in a percentage.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And so it's easier to say that our students are on average in 3rd grade, 79% of the way towards proficiency in math or yeah, than it is to say they're on average 40 points below standard.
Okay.
Yep. So awesome, guys. Any questions on percent towards standard or California School Dashboard? I've been reading it for days now again. So if you have any questions, I might be able to answer them. I got Gretchen's thumb up. That's the only thumbs up I need. So we are intentional about feedback, ways that we can improve. So I'm building in time right now for you guys to scan this QR code. The link's going to be in the chat. Brandon just put the link in the chat, and you can respond text, audio, video, however you want using our platform Parsec Reel. But this is the only way we get better, is you guys are the boots on the ground. You have sight on the needs. We're doing our best to listen to you and to innovate. But if you can give us feedback, I'm going to sit here and hang out. We would be really grateful. It's also the way that we form these webinars. Christine, if you're still driving, don't do this. Do one more minute. Oh, Eugene Park. I love that Eugene shows up at 10:41 when we're already done. If you guys haven't met our founder, Eugene Park, he's officially in the chat. Timely as ever. Awesome. Well, guys, that's it for us. If you have any questions, you can also, I forgot, we have our summit coming up in 2026. You guys are more than welcome to join us. It was awesome the last 2 years, and we'd love to have you. Deb was there. Thank you for coming. If you guys have questions that we didn't answer, feel free to email me at ryan@parseceducation.com. If I could spell my own name, I'll put it in the chat. More than happy to answer your questions. If you are wondering anything about data, about the California School Dashboard, about improvement, if you're like, hey, we understand tracking these metrics, but how do we improve them? I'm more than happy to get on the line and have a conversation about things that we've done for others, things that have worked, things that haven't worked, platforms we see being very successful. We love doing that. Platforms that aren't Parsec, that are helping people be very successful in different subject areas. Anything that you guys might have, I'm more than happy to jump on a call and be a thought partner in that.
Thanks, Ryan.
Appreciate you, BJ. It's good to see you. I didn't see your face till just now, but it's always good to see it.
Right on. Have a great day.
You too, brother.